Hello, everyone. I believe we can all see and hear each other. Welcome to our IT Career in 2023, What to Expect, What to Do panel discussion. My name is Adam Bojoki, and I'm the Managing Director of Innovecs Central Eastern Europe, and I will be serving as your moderator today. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. If not, please signal to us in the chat message so that we see that there's an issue, but I hope everything will be okay. So once again, as you see, our Innovecs team has been working really hard in setting up this online event, crossing boundaries and connecting IT professionals from the whole Central Eastern European region. Also, we have guests and listeners not only from this region, so Poland, Romania, Hungary, the Ukraine, but also from Georgia, from Colombia, the US, and several other locations, which makes us really, really proud and happy. So thank you everyone for joining us today and being with us at this special event. Now, I'm sure that you're familiar in the Central Eastern European region. We share very similar realities of the IT sector. So opportunities on our macro level skill sets, also aspirations for becoming a quality source of talent as a country, and services for the whole world. And also we have a growth potential of our IT companies and labor force. At the same time, we also share the same difficulties and challenges. And let me tell you, if you haven't noticed, in 2022, we have had quite a lot of these challenges that were coming at us in the last couple of months. Just to mention a few, of course, you're all familiar with the Russian war against the Ukraine, also the energy crisis and the inflation that were triggered by this. And of course, we still have the supply chain problems that are caused by the pandemic. We haven't really recovered from that either. They all had their tolls on our economies and naturally the IT industry as well. Just to also mention a couple of direct effects, Snapchat, Twitter, Meta, Google, just a few enterprises that actually announced budget cuts and layoffs the last couple of months. So the situation was not so different in the small and medium-sized companies either. So now our question for today is, what does 2023 has in store for us? So we will be taking a look at this topic from both a corporate angle and also from the point of view of the IT talent, and we will be examining both sections. Please feel free to post questions or comments in the chat area of our online YouTube stream, as at the end of the roundtable, we'll have the chance to also ask some of our guests these questions, and they will be answering them at the end. So coming to our guests, please welcome our four guests. Actually, I'm seeing myself as the fifth, so I'm not a guest, but I'm a moderator. So please welcome our guests of the first panel. It is called Delivery and Engineering. We will be exploring and answering some burning questions with them from the corporate point of view. So we start with the corporate side of 2023. So with us here are, first of all, Nina Levchuk. Welcome. She's a startup and venture capital regional lead at Google, also a sales professional, as I know, and public speaker. And also she's a co-founder of United for Ukraine. Welcome, Nina. Also, Adelin Stoica from Romania. Welcome. He's enterprise technology lead at Microsoft, cloud and digital transformation expert. I'm sure that we will have some quite amusing and great responses to also share later. Paweł Meyer from Poland. He's the CTO at Bezpieczny. It's not an easy word for me. I hope I didn't. I killed it. One of the most important online insurance portals in Poland is Bezpieczny. And Paweł is passionate about e-commerce, project and program management. So great to have you, Paweł, with us. And last but not least, Attila Rácz. He's the group IT director of Futureal Group, one of Hungary's largest real estate development firms. He's also a tech enthusiast with experience from the classified e-commerce area. So quite a good crowd, and I'm happy to have you guys all here. So starting a bit with some interesting figures from the market. So Google has been and is still laying off around 12,000 employees, Microsoft around 11,000, Tesla 6,000, Snapchat 6,400. These are very tough months as we all experience. It seems to me that basically 2022 was a tough year, and now we're seeing these companies downsizing as a consequence of all that has happened in the last year. So according to you, how did the market in the IT industry change, and what changes have you personally in your professional lives noticed in the last couple of months? Paweł, let's see what have you seen in your area?
Okay, hello. This is a good question. As you mentioned it, I'm the project manager. I'm specialized in the project management, and I'm always looking through the soft skills. I think what is very important that if I talk with the managers, what do they expect from the employees? It's not only the technical skills. It's soft skills. You have to know how to talk with people, how to communicate, and how to behave in the business world. The second thing is that business likes employees who has already experience in the specific business. So if you are going to work for the aeronauticals, like I myself was working for the Lufthansa in the past, they like people who already worked for the airlines. So technical skills, this is the one thing, but if you know the business, anything about it, even if later on you don't work specific with this business, you just do some IT stuff, they like you to have some experience. And the third one is the companies right now notice that it's not only important that someone is a technical, someone have the soft skills, and someone has the experience. The very big change is that they say, we want you, or we would like you to fit in our company culture. If you don't find a place in our culture, we cannot work together. So you have to fit in this culture. So right now, if you go on the headhunter site, you see all culture, all goals, all we believe in such things. So you have to align to this culture, to these goals, to these points of view, to work with the people. Because at the end of the day, you not only work with the technology, the computers, you work with people. And I will always repeat that. First of all, I work with people, then with processes, and at the end with the IT systems. And that's all from my side.
Great. And you noticed that this has actually been becoming even more and more important in the last couple of months. Okay, interesting. Attila, how about you? Do you have any feelings and impressions about 2022?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be way more practical on this. So, and I will tackle this question based on the recent happenings across the globe, and I think all industries, not just IT. In my experience, like way higher amount of sales activities are happening right now. I feel like there might be bigger pressure on achieving sales targets for the account executives. So like, I never been this many times reached out by third parties and vendors trying to find their way in. Strategic partnerships, I think, and cooperation are way more appreciated than before. So like with the decrease of opportunities, the existing customer base is more valuable, in my opinion. In other words, vendors are willing to renegotiate deals to retain existing customer base and are pushing for longer commitments. I've never seen like 4 or 5 year commitments in medium or small sized companies before, but now it's here with us. Headcount freezes everywhere across all industries. And in terms of employees' focus, I started to see that they are shifting to more like stability and and they became more careful when it's about career changes.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. So a lot of pressure and a lot of resilience from also the clients and both the employees' point of view. Interesting. And if you look into the future already, so regarding 2023, I hear quite often the motto, do more with less. I've heard that so many times. What do you think of this statement? Is this true? Do you agree with it or not? And yeah, related to this, what are your expectations of 2023? Maybe Adelin, you can start now.
Thanks for the question. It's actually a puzzling topic for us. Well, to start with Microsoft's point of view here, do more with less speaks about change agents, which we are. We as companies that develop technologies, partner that has the capability to implement it. We're doing more with less time, with less cost, less complexity. That's the need that we're seeing from end customers. If you're a bank or an oil and gas company, you encounter different obstacles. You talk about them early in your opening. We've encountered unexpected scenarios. So handling these obstacles allows us to have less energy, less focus. So how can we as and let's say again, we could be a startup company, can do more. We as cloud providers are thinking about that, because again, let's see how we can put ourselves in the shoes of any startup or any public institution, government or company, and meet them halfway. That's one thing. The second point, which I would add, there is no one size fits all. It's important to understand what are the capabilities of an actual public institution or a company to execute what they plan. So it's not a one size fits all. Again, look, I might have a huge base of IT skill within my departments, and I might not need a certain level of service from the companies and the partners I work with. But then again, I could use some project management help and to orchestrate perhaps the different set of difficulties I might encounter. So that's why it's a one-by-one scenario, and we'd love to, again, if you want to follow up on that, surely I'd like to deep dive on it. But I think you might have a question for my colleague speaker here.
Yeah, I also would like to know some other opinions, maybe Paweł, because you at the insurance industry, I'm sure as a provider, you also face this motto, leaning for efficiency and working better. What have you seen in the last few months, and how is 2023 for you guys? You are muted.
He might be on mute.
Yeah, sorry. About this motto, do more with less. As you mentioned, I'm from the, let's say, insurance startup company. We sell the insurance, and this is right, that the customers right now wants to, let's say, less complicated products, simple products. They want a very simple product for a specific price, and this is it. But if I think about the IT world, I would say that I understand the point of view that right now you can do more with less. It doesn't mean less technology, but with less effort, because I think nowadays we have the all technology and all the IT stuff that we need to do almost everything. If you will think about any solution, any problem, you can find a startup, an idea, a software and solution to solve your problem. So we are living in wonderful worlds. I would say these times for the IT are wonderful because you can do anything. But we are still on the IT side, and as IT, we tend to think as an IT. So we are excited about the technology. We like the technology. We like to touch it. We like to play with it. But the customers pays our salaries. So first of all, focus on the problem. What would you like to solve? Yeah. So try to focus on the problem, because you can have wonderful technology, wonderful solutions. If no one needs it for any problem, it's just beautiful technology. Yes. So, the business first, technology helps the business. And that's the way it goes.
I actually liked your thinking about product and simplicity. I think it describes really well what I've also experienced. Interesting. Now, Nina, I from the startup point of view, I would be really happy to also have an assessment from your side about 2023. Do you think now is it a good time to start your own startup, or is it better to continue working in like a stable, steady environment? So, what's your take on the future of the startups in 2023?
I think the most easiest answer would be it depends, right? But I think what is important to mention, as well as kind of overall investment ecosystem development and startup ecosystem development since 2022 to 2023. I might agree that we're definitely moving right now to state of normality or stability, right? Because obviously what we experienced from 2020 to 2022, immersive growth, across numerous industry, similar solution in one verticals, big access to the cash on the market, and that cultivated a lot of the, appearing a lot of the businesses who were not necessarily was having from the beginning strong unit economy in place, right? And that was resulting in a big scaling, pivoting that was supported by the cash burn. And basically what we see now in 2023, that behavior is not happening anymore on the market, right? And that profitability pressure from investment ecosystem increase, right? And what does it mean? It's mean that mindset shift within the founders should happen from not just looking at the solution that could be scaled fast, within the specific areas, disruptive specific areas, but as well actually should stronger focus on profitability from the first day. Before the crazy 2022 started, a lot of the key principles of successful startup was, can you really show how soon you could become profitable as a business? Now, as I said, in the last 3 years we observed, or 2 years we observed, where the startups were pumped basically with investment, and therefore the marketing spend was driving tremendous growth and acceleration. And what's happened in 2023? Well, I believe that simplification in terms of the solution within the vertical, so the strongest one, the smartest one, the more effective one will basically survive through that. The others probably not. I think it's as well very depend, if you ask me, is it a good time to start a startup? It's very depends of the, where do you want to enter? So relevancy still remain one of the biggest criteria of success. Now, obviously, investors, if we're speaking from investor perspectives, they're looking at the startups that could, as I said, deliver really profitable model from the beginning, and that would mean that it's less B2C and more B2B direction, right? So therefore, I do believe it's relevancy is the number one. Number two is like if you're still entering something like B2C direction, can you really make sure your business on the good track within the short time? And economies make a lot of sense here. And second one, like, how easy actually to enter with the same solution for other competitors, because that's what we observe in the 2022 with quick commerce, with mobility, and many insurtech, fintech, and so on, with many other solutions. So that, I think, like, key question to ask yourself as a founder. And if you would say, could check the box that you could minimize burn of the cash on the marketing side, optimize your infrastructure on the technology side, and really still remain super relevant within this limited investment opportunities within the next 2 years and showing profitability traction, then it's a good place to go.
Thank you, Nina. Great. Now, I've also heard quite often the last couple of months about digital transformation, of course, the cloud-first approaches. And as a matter of fact, according to Statista, in the CEE, already 1/3 of the companies are already in cloud, and 39% of the rest are already planning a cloud strategy. What do you guys think? What are the most critical trends in the IT market that leaders should be prepared for? What does 2023 bring as a new direction? Adelin, what do you think?
Well, that's a good point which you're raising, to be honest. Like, indeed, in C we see an adoption of 1/3. I think we're lagging if we compare to West Europe or to US. It's a matter of building trust within markets, and as well market education and resources as well. That could explain a bit the results so far. Trends. We've seen lately an increase in terms of the business model being shifted towards SaaSification. It provides better financial stability, so it's easier for you to sell your service to a institution, company, your end customers at the end of the day, in a SaaS model, subscription-based, rather than, again, a perpetual license. And in this way, it keeps you as a provider, or even more honest on the quality of your product. So that's one of the trends as well. A second point which we are noticing is basically a consolidation of technologies. Consolidation not on vendors per se, but how they're being managed, because you might end up in the scenario where they use security products from X vendor, which is normal. You might use DevOps from other vendor. It's important to keep them in control. We have this boom of technology solutions that are quite differentiating one another. But then again, it's only useful to put yourself in the shoes of your customer and ask, how many solutions do you use? And if you see more than 10, 20, 50, well, that's might be a bit of a problem to manage. So again, to summarize it up, to the second point, I would say orchestration is something that we are seeing as a trend.
Interesting. Any other trends that you guys are seeing? If anybody has some extras, please share. If not, I will ask Attila about technologies and the technology trends. So in the CEE, I don't see too much of a difference between each region. They are both, all of them are sharing the basic same technologies that are most popular in demand. So I mean, from the corporate point of view. So I see Java, JavaScript, HTML, Python, C#, C++ as the most attractive or the most important technologies. But in 2023, what technologies do you see are gaining the most traction from the corporate demand, and why is that?
Well, I would definitely highlight Python, as it is well utilized across many AI projects, and more companies do invest and start leveraging AI. And Solidity, that's again a new era for digital technology. Blockchain, most of the blockchains are based on Solidity. Web3 projects are just in front of our doors. Kotlin, I think that's again something focus is shifting towards to. It does provide a utilized platform for mobile development for both iOS and Android. But well, I wouldn't be necessarily pick a specific coding language. I would rather like maybe highlight some areas. So in my opinion, like any developments around ERPs or CRM solutions is way more appreciated than before. And mobile developments.
And you see still a trend? This is still picking up, or we have reached the top? We were maybe
I think
just
it's still a trend. So maybe there is some like slowdown because of the economic downturn, but it's gonna be back. So and there is still hundreds and thousands of open positions even in Hungary. So
yeah, that's true. And at this moment, I'm really curious about your opinion. How much is it worth to actually invest in or try adopting new technologies at this moment when it's an economic downturn? Does it have anything to do with the downturn or nothing at all? Or would it be just better to stick with something that works best for the company that we're familiar with? So can we relate basically technology with the economic stability? Does it have anything to do with it or not?
It definitely does. So like companies are careful, and they have closer look on their balance sheet. So I would say it really depends on many factors. Are you sure that the new tool or service you are trying to adopt to is gonna provide you growth or save you resources or maybe reduce risk? If your answer is yes, then definitely I would say go ahead and stick to your innovation plans. But I think like mostly the risk appetite of these organizations are gonna drive these efforts in the coming months or years maybe. As we can see, all the big players are already struggling to allow further growth for themselves as well. So big tech companies are shrinking and focusing on operating more effectively. But yeah, that might be a new opportunity for a new player to come up and shine. In my opinion, as I said earlier, so there is enormous potential in blockchain and Web3 developments. It's still not mainstream, and I'm not talking about cryptocurrencies, so it's way above that. And there is definitely going to be winners who are committed and brave enough to invest in innovation during these difficult times.
Interesting. Adelin, what do you think of this new technology adoption?
Well, it depends on what you call new technology. Because as you shared earlier, 1/3 of Europe CE is using cloud technology. Specifically, I think Eurostat's study last year counted Romania, I think 11% even. So I think we're even lagging behind. Again, I might be wrong on the numbers, so I'm just quoting as I'm remembering it. But point is, depends on what you're calling new technology, because for some of these customers, even usage of basic cloud is new technology for them. So if you want to go to the next level, keeping legacy technology amid an economic downturn is like holding up money when inflation has 3 figures on a yearly basis. But as I think my colleague pointed out an interesting fact: risk management. You should be able to afford doing a transition. because again, if you have to let go a significant portion of your workforce, or shift toward technology, how would you mix it up? Is it a 1 or a 0 situation? I wouldn't say so. Obviously, each knows best how the calculus is being done on their home. Another point, actually second point, which I would like to add as well, to answer your question, if a new tech can be afforded, well, might not be necessary to invest in new tech. It might sound counterintuitive, especially since we're producing and investing heavily in new technology, because we believe that. But then again, it depends on what actual difference it brings to the end customer. If you operate a factory and everything is going smooth, okay, do you want to do something? Are you happy with what you're doing today? If you just need to send an email and that's it in terms of digitalization, okay, then it is what it is. But then again, I'm going to put the other scenario. If your company uses ML or AI and IoT, is it the best company on the market because it uses these emerging technologies? I don't know. Could be, might not be. We believe that, and personally, I believe as well that the best thing to ask is, what are the users? What are your users thinking of? The users of your platform, your customers, what do they make of your product? If they can, and when you're listening to them, because as you've started in your intro, the market is changing, they have ideas, they have desires. Hey, we want this feature, we want this new behavior of the application, or we want your service to have a more digital approach. Okay, that's an incentive for you to act. But if your users or your customers aren't asking that, I would challenge a bit new tech. New tech is valuable when it's relevant, I would say.
Super. And you guys both mentioned with Attila about strategy, following through with the strategy, with the product, with the sales mindset. Now, we see many projects stalling. Companies are cautious about making larger investments because of the crisis. At the same time, other people say it is best to make a move during these times of crisis, as the return can be higher. As they also say, cash is king during a recession. I would love to know, how far ahead do you think we can and we should plan in terms of strategy for a development? And yeah, maybe what are the trends on the investor side? So Nina, I think it's a great question to you. So how to plan strategy, and what can investors expect in that aspect?
Yeah, I think like two parts right here. I mean, I already mentioned some of those things in the beginning, right? It was echoed by our panel participants, right, in terms of relevancy, in terms of, like opportunity really to place the technology in effective manner. But I want to one more time reinforce the message. It's as well about payback. So the way how investors currently look at the opportunity disregards from B2C to B2B. So like, as I mentioned, B2B is probably will be growing right now faster in terms of investments, just because it's require less marketing burn, right? And therefore it's more chances for see payback faster. So the simple approach of every investor, I mean, is like, okay, they all looking for the 10x growth, right? Now, what is the plan behind this solution, and how fast actually this 10x growth could be achieved? No one right now is expecting that within the first year the company will deliver for 4x growth or 5x growth. Obviously, the pace right now slowed down to ability to show in the nearest future 2.5, and that's what I'm hearing more and more from like investor with whom I'm working. I'm an investor myself, the angel investor, right? So that's number one. In terms of is it better time right now to enter with investment? I think it's actually this question even less relevant, because if you look as well in terms of the traditional VC funds, majority of them actually close their funds. So that's mean they do have cash in the pocket, right? And it's mean that they do need to invest those money. It's just that the decision process behind that become a different, and we already all couple times mentioned how the mindset shift happened towards profitability, as in 2022, everyone mainly were looking at growth, right? So growth of the customer base, pivoting of the product, expansion of the services, and we saw many testing, right? So many companies were entering those areas where they wasn't actually the strongest one. And now what's happening, the whole market, including big tech giant, shrinking in terms of sharpening their focus, right? So sharp focus definitely would be the key in decision process, right, of investor when they're speaking to the founder and they're deciding on the next step. Are we expecting that overall investment size will fall down and will decrease? Might be the case, right? We saw it already in comparison 2022 to 2021. Again, very depends on the region, like UK, Germany versus CEE. In terms, is it a good, again, time to enter? Obviously, like the evaluation of companies, right, who didn't go yet to public was a bit, trying to find the good word, overrated, right? So people like literally, were giving a lot of money in order to receive some specific stake, and the evaluation was like, we have so many unicorns as we never had before, right? So, and at some point, unicorns become not already, great word. Now everyone was shifting to gorillas. And why to gorillas? Because gorillas could show consistency in like really surpassing the profitability and revenue and growth results. So I think it's definitely would be opportunity for some of the investor to bring back the valuation to normality, and therefore there is already many mechanisms in place like discounts and so on, especially for those company who were at the seed stage and now entering Series A and Series B. Are we going to see the same crazy evaluations? Probably no, right? Is it like bad or good? I mean, obviously from founder's perspective, it could be treated differently, but again, from economical perspective, right? It's an overall normalization of economical of the economics of the ecosystem, right? So yes, it could be a good time. Yes, it very depends on what verticals you're investing and how soon you could see your payback. And it's all about the focus, sharpening the focus, and really deliver the results from the first years. Doesn't mean, as I said, like tremendous customer growth. It's more means in terms of actually your profitability growth.
Great. And Paweł, how far, guys, can you plan? 1 year, 3 years, less, more? How is strategy looking like at your company?
Well, in my company, we are planning 5 years in advance. So we think that the 5 years it's a good time to plan and to execute. So if you would like to, well, basically, the bigger you are, the more problem is when you would like to change the direction. Yes, like we say, if you have a small ship, it can change direction quickly. If you have a big ship on the sea, it cannot just turn around and do some circles. So it depends how big you are. We are quite small company, but nevertheless, change in the technology, in the development, in the processes, in the approach, and so on. I think it takes right now in the current situation about 5 years. Yes, it's there are many factors which impact on that, but it takes time. Yeah, and from the other side, we're talking about the IT, but on the other side we have something what is called time to market. If you have a new product, a new idea, a new business, The question is how fast you can go to the market. How fast can you introduce the product to the customers? And behind this question, you have the technology which supports you. Yeah. So this is quite important. I have different experience in the companies, and I would say how far can you plan? It depends. It very depends. I see companies who says keep it simple. Yes, they take this methodology like KISS. So keep it simple, stupid. It should be as simple as it can be. So they even don't try to use cloud and so on. Or if they use the cloud, they use just the basic things, the features, and that's it. Yes. And at the other hand, you have the companies who strive are looking for new technologies. Yes, if you have the, I don't know, the CEO or the boss of the company, he likes the technology, so he will be looking for all the new technologies. Yes, he will came to your desk with the newspapers and say, "Hey, look, they are using the blockchain. Maybe we should use it too." And you are chasing the rabbit. Yes. And I don't know if it's a good or bad, but if you are chasing the rabbit, you are missing a time for doing a business. Yes. So I would say it depends. But yeah. And basically, as it was already mentioned, there is no one size fits all. So it means for every company, there is different strategy, there is different time, there is different landscape, different product, and so on. So every time it depends.
And does it also depend on the individual and the investor, Nina? Does the approach change and the risk assessment change by company, by people? Or is there standards?
Do you mean from the funders' perspective, from investor perspective?
Yeah, from the investors.
Okay, so from investor perspective, as I already echoed, right, the approach is currently changed, right, and it's addressing basically all economical challenges that we are currently facing. And as I already mentioned, right, they still, like, you know, in terms of the risk assessment, I think, I mean, overall, the standard risk assessment remains. It's just the focus of investors are more sharper towards, like, you know, the profitability on the company. Now, what is more interesting, actually, it's for companies who already were launched, right, before that crisis. So new business is one thing, and I fully agree here with all panel participants, right? If you still have a good technology and idea in place, it's relevant to the market, you could really find your niche, and you could really show, like, I would say, go to market in a fast way, right? You will succeed, right? And you will, like, could really build a sustainable company. Now, the majority of the question that is currently asked within the VC and startup ecosystem, how actually risk assessment is happening for follow-up rounds, right? Because obviously, if the company already fundraised from the different investors, the first thing what is happening, they're trying to do the follow-up rounds to support their business. And here, the risk assessment happening in the way where negotiation just starting on the new level, right? So again, not on the level of, obviously, don't get me wrong, it's a balance between customer growth and between profitability. Now, the approach is just a bit different, right? If before that, it was supported mainly by investors' money to scale fast and get as much as possible, you know, customer base. So now it's more about how actually can you optimize your service or your product, maybe increase the price and make it even more relevant for the user, but not actually burn the cash behind the scaling. So, and this is where the actually risk assessment as well happening. Outside of the, like, you know, technology assessments cannot be disrupted. Very great, I think, example that now every second startup is coming with AI technology idea in place. And even though that we couldn't imagine would actually drive this narrative a couple years ago, shifting to that. Does it mean that it's a good idea everywhere? Not necessarily. So you need to be very careful as well when you are deciding on optimization of your product or pivoting of your company within those economical, let's call it crisis time, right? But like following just a easy step that we already outlined today here would help just to make sure that you could position informed investors a good strategy in place to secure their support for follow-up rounds.
Understand. I've heard quite a lot the word optimizing and making the operations a bit more, analyzed. So if we look at operational costs, what are things or areas where you guys think no budget cut is allowed? It should not happen because it's a key area. And what are areas that you would probably downsize first if it was really needed at your company? Are there areas like this at all? Attila, maybe you can share your ideas.
Where I would definitely not consider any cuts is cybersecurity. I think that's core of any business nowadays, and we are super resilient towards cyber attacks. So I would not consider any budget cuts there. However, well, if it's a huge pressure and we really need to decrease the operational expenses, I would definitely pull the trigger on killing legacy or obsolete technology and infrastructure stacks. Is it really necessary that we are still maintaining huge printing infrastructure in the 21st century? Maybe not. Maybe that would be my first way ahead. Are desk phones still required? I would say no. Still, hundreds and thousands of companies are still using them. As earlier, I think it was Adelin who touched up on clouds and so on. So moving local infrastructure to data centers or clouds could be a great solution for lots of firms. And maybe where I would not consider cuts would be sustainable technology. So I think like there is increased focus on decreasing our emission footsteps in every aspect. So technology is gonna be the same. So huge data centers are required to be considered as well. Renewable energy and so on. I think. I mean, if I would be in a position to decide on innovation, I would definitely still stuck to sustainable technology.
I see a lot of people and heads nodding, so that I guess we are sharing this opinion. Adelin, you were mentioned by Attila. Do you have anything else to add? Would you do anything different?
I would like to mention Attila, and I found it really funny that whichever line of argument he brought, it was music to my ears. Again, starting with cybersecurity, because things have changed and we live in a different era of danger. So 100% agree with what you said, Attila. It's been, again, the same line of thinking from my end. I would perhaps just add one point on sustainability, as you've mentioned it earlier. We have a Romanian football player, actually the greatest one, Hagi, and he has a saying which says something like, if you want to be great tomorrow, you have to prove yourself once more. So you need to address today's dangers and, again, its opportunities. We cannot expect to have great results by applying methodologies and technology, even to some extent, 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's purely not addressable to current status of the market and customers. It's not there. So sustainability means lots of things. Again, starting from climate to finance, from finance as well. That would be the point I would like to add. And when looking from a software company's perspective on what to focus and wouldn't be the main division, would be the main division to keep. Depends. Where are you in the market? If your product is bulletproof and you're lagging on sales, and sales is making the difference, it would be odd to fire sales. Just to have that example, or give another example. If your product is doing okay, your sales teams are bringing okayish leads, and your main pain point would be support, as you're not doing, and your retention of acquired customers is going down because your support is really bad. Going out and scraping support division might not be the best idea. So that would be my 2 cents here.
Okay, thank you. Now, for the end, I have a rather intriguing question, because I would love to hear everybody's opinion on this. How optimistic are you guys about the near future of IT? So, of course, we know it will eventually, IT will always be doing great, but are we living a shorter crisis? Do you think it will pick up for us quickly? How temporary are we in this situation? Maybe Nina can start. Ladies first.
Thank you. So again, I mean, I don't want to call that IT is currently experiencing crisis. I think if we speak about tech industry itself, it's kind of experiences normalization in terms the strongest business models will survive, will expand, right, and will continue to deliver results. The new interesting models will evolve, right, and will appear. For sure, like cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, multi-cloud, that's the topic that we would hear ongoingly. And I could imagine that many interesting IT solutions using not new again technology, right? But just pivoting the current business models and optimizing user experience will appear. So can we really call it as crisis in technology or IT? I don't think it's a appropriate wording. I think it's more that it will require new skill set within the founder's mindset and business owner's mindset. So what we should really care about is how we, as a business, so I'm not a business owner, but it's more speaking to the founders, right, or to the owners of enterprises, how they are actually ready to pivot their mindset and face new reality and become as much as possible relevant and smart within current economical situation. An investment opportunity, as I mentioned, still there. It's just require a bit different processes, but it's not a big shift.
Sure. Paweł?
Oh, yes. I would say that I'm very optimistic. I would say that what we had experienced, it was COVID. COVID showed to many companies that the IT is necessary. It's the heart of the company. If you would think about Zoom technology, yes, everyone was on the Zoom, anyone was on the Google Meet, and so on, on the Teams. So it just pumped, it was just like a burst, yes, it was jumping out. So I would say we right now living in a very good time. I would call it also normalization, but I would call it optimization. And the optimization in IT means investments. If you are talking in IT about optimizing, it means you have to buy something new. It's just the way it is. You just don't switch the old systems, the legacy systems. You have to introduce the replacement. And I see on the Polish market what is going right now. Everyone is starting managing companies and the business through the Excel sheets, through the finance point of view. Yes, so it means we would like to spend money, but we would like to spend it wise, very wise. So we say we want to make a lot of money on the IT, but it has to give us the outcome in the year 2, 3, or 5, or 10 years, and we want to be the first on the market. So I think the IT market, the IT in general will have a lot of investments from the business point of view. Yes, because business understands that in nowadays you need to optimize, you need to be quick, you need to perform very well. You have to have the automated call centers. The AI is sitting on the other side of the phone. You are talking with the automated call centers and so on and so on. So the technology is everywhere. Yes. And also the next thing is that your phone is everything. We cannot escape from the technology, and the business also cannot escape from it. And they see it as a tool. This is a tool to make a business. And there are many tools. You just have to choose wise, invest, and make money out of it. And that's all. So I would say, to summarize all the things, I would say everything bad what has happened in the last 3 years or 4 or 5 years, we as IT will benefit because business will optimize, and optimize its investments. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Very optimistic message. Attila,
Well, I'm not sure if I could add anything else. Unfortunately, I'm not a fortune teller, but as the others, I'm very optimistic too. I think technology is inevitable for any business now. It just depends on the time. I'm not sure whether it's gonna take 3-6 months or even more, but there's gonna be an uptrend definitely. I think technology is still one of the best to be in, like talent-wise or career-wise. On and I think it was required. So like these huge big tech companies super expanded their staff. I think it was time for normalization, and there's gonna there's gonna be opportunities for those people, and there's still market for them. Maybe not the most interesting projects are gonna appear in the coming weeks, but there's gonna be.
Super. And I actually looked at some of the questions that the audience has, and there's one that I would ask you guys to also answer related to this topic. Is there any chance to get into the tech industry for non-developers this year? Knowing that, these large tech companies have just burst the bubble, what can non-tech people expect? Can they get into the IT market?
Yes.
Yeah?
Certainly, yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I would just add something more to it. Yes.
Sure.
Because if you see the news, if you read the news, you see that the non-technical people thinks that the IT world is just full of developers. It's not true. There are many other IT specialists. You need the project managers, you need the test managers, quality assurance, documentation, a lot of skills which are needed in the IT world. So this is not just the developers just developing some code, and it's not just the application. There is a big world of processes, teams, optimizations, performance, security. So if you are not technical, it's also a word for you.
Adelin, how is it at Microsoft? Is it easy as a non-tech person to enter your organization? Not sure if we still have Adelin here. I can't see him. Hopefully he will return. Anyways, as a summary, I have been taking quite some notes, but just words noted down, and I want to repeat a few that I've read. Pressure, cost efficiency, simplicity, stability, specification, and sharp focus. These were the ones that either one or more of you guys mentioned, but regularly it came back. So I'm very happy to see that you see it so clearly that we're going through a change, but you also think that this is a temporary change, and for the downturn of it as it is. And it seems that IT has a bright future still, according to you guys. So yeah, thank you very much for these thoughts, dear audience. These were our guests, Nina, Attila, Pavel, and Adelin, on what to expect and what to do in 2023 from the corporate and investors' point of view. Thank you very much, guys, for being here with us. And yeah, please stay if you can and enjoy the rest of our discussions. Now, to continue, while I was preparing for today's event, I came across a research that Enterprise Strategy Group, ESG, made the end of 2022 about technology trends for 2023. And based on the results, and that kind of actually resonates with what we've heard in the last couple of minutes, cybersecurity is expected to be next year's biggest driver of business IT spending. So you guys were really spot on with this. It is followed by artificial intelligence, not a surprise, but you have also mentioned this, and of course, machine learning. Cloud applications, infrastructure, and services are also high on the list, of course. These technology areas reflect broader IT trends as well, I would say, such as skills shortages, increasing complexity, and escalating cyber threats. But, and that's the difficulty, efforts to strengthen the cybersecurity have been slowed down by the field's ongoing global talent shortage. We all know that the IT skills gap is an industry-wide problem. We all experience that. But the situation is especially daunting in cybersecurity. Almost half of the respondents to this survey reported a lack of security skills in the organization. Half. And you guys mentioned that it is key and you would never downsize it. So as you see, we just arrived to a very important topic, our second topic of the day, talent. So we will continue with our IT career in 2023, what to expect, what to do, panel discussions. And in the second talent market panel, we will be getting some answers to our questions, keeping now the IT talent in focus. For this, I would like to invite and welcome our participants of this second roundtable. First of all, Lesia Arnold, welcome. Lesia is the founder of A Players, which is an agency providing the top 5% of talent from the IT industry for impact-first companies. Welcome. Please also meet Mike Black. He's joining us from the US today. Hi, Mike. He's a tech entrepreneur and founder of Talent Stream. Mike is helping tech companies finding their IT talent in Latin America. And last but not least, Vladislav Kopanko. He's the vice president of delivery and account management at Innovecs, so a good colleague of mine. And he has been setting up and scaling projects and teams across multiple industries for over 20 years. So I'm sure if anyone, then he knows quite a lot about talent. So welcome, guys, and thank you for joining us also today. As a start, 2022 brought quite the change for IT professionals as well. There are projects on hold, there's downsizing, contracts are ended, not prolonged. So probably it's also the first time in a decade that I see, again, employers setting the pace and not employees. We've had the employees market for a while, but it seems to be changing. So my first question would be, how did you guys at your companies change your strategy related to the IT talent? And also, because we have quite a lot of IT specialists in our audience, what recommendations can you provide for tech talents to land a job offer? So what changed and how to land a good job? And maybe Lesja, you could start. Ladies first again.
Hi everyone, again, very happy to be here with you all. So since our eyes are always specifically on A players, this is actually a great time for us to get the very best people. So the real challenge here I see is to build the system, the hiring system, to optimize the process, to put as many talents as possible on the top of the funnel and to bring them through the funnel as fast as possible and as efficient as possible to get the very best talent. Because we can all predict the future, what will happen, how long this situation will happen and all that, but who knows? Like we're here now, we see the situation, we know that there is a lot of talent available in the market. It's a great time to use it and to do whatever we can to hire the very, very, very best. So our adjustment of the strategy was just like how to optimize our internal processes to bring more people through the funnel as fast as possible. In terms of recommendations, I would suggest to first of all understand where you stand on the market in terms of the role, like how in-demand roles are that you occupy, in terms of location, in terms of salary. So being really, really well informed is really important to get the best job offer, and then use that information. Of course, also improve skills. I totally agree that it's time for employers to set the tone. So improving your skills, especially soft skills, is more important than ever. And do whatever you can to get noticed, because there is a huge pool of talent. It's very easy to get lost.
Great. And what are the soft skills that are most important to improve? What do you think?
Well, I would say that problem solving, creativity, communication skills probably would be my top 3. Now, also, this is not a skill, but it's just like ability to be a generalist rather than a specialist in an area, because a lot of companies are trying to cut the budget for talent and hire more generalists than specialists. I am a strong believer in specialists myself. Like I love hiring people who are very, very strong in one specific area, and I don't care about their weaknesses in other areas. This is not that time, unfortunately. So this is the time more for generalists.
Interesting, because we've heard also specification at the company and generalization with the talent. Interesting. Mike, what's your take on the question? So did you change anything related to strategy of the IT talent, and what do you think is needed for the talent to be noticed and to land a good job offer?
Yeah, definitely. So first off, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. In regards to I guess how we change things, because we also operate a software development agency, but we have a lot of clients that we hire for. And I think this is really simple. It's supply and demand. So before, because there was just not enough supply and there was such high demand, it just made things a little bit crazy. And now you see a lot of layoffs and whatnot. It changed that supply and demand. So what does that mean? That means companies are being much more picky with who they move forward with in their process. They're trying to be more efficient with their dollars. And what we've seen from a lot of clients is they're putting people on performance plans, and if they can't perform, then they cut. So it's not just hey, you got to get the job. It's also you have to perform once you get the job as well. So I think that's I think it's what everyone's seeing right now. It's just companies are being much more selective. So you have to be really good at what you're doing, and just really kind of apply to those jobs that you're interested in and really put in the work in the interview process to show them why you might be a great fit. What I see in Latin America specifically, because we specialize there, is there's a little bit of a lack of like following up after the interviews. And maybe that was because things were crazy before, where again, the supply and demand was a little different. But follow up with the people that you're interviewing with, let them know that you appreciate their time. And what I tell everyone that we interview is when you're interviewing with companies, don't just apply to jobs, reach out to the hiring managers and reach out to as many as you can, because you're going to get in front of those hiring managers, especially when they have, hundreds of people applying for a job. I think the second part of that question is like, what kind of do we recommend for, people to get jobs in tech? I think in regards to that question, it really depends where you're at, in your journey. If you're in the beginning stages of, getting into tech, maybe you're more junior, what I've always recommended, given this market or previous, is to really get your hands on stuff. And if that means taking a lower salary, then do it. If that even means working for free, if you can, do it. Because what matters is experience. Companies really, really care about that experience. So if you can take a job where you can really get a lot of responsibility and really build up your portfolio, I would do that. I'd really focus on that. Now, if you're a little bit later in your career, I'd still really consider jobs where you can really gain a lot of valuable experience over, say, dollars. I'd really chase that, because what's going to be really important moving forward is the best candidates. And if you can get into jobs and roles where you get to do, have a lot of responsibility that's impressive to future employers, then I think that's going to make a big difference in people's careers. So that's what I'd recommend, and that's what I'd be kind of focusing on if I was looking for a job right now.
It's actually incredible, right? Like how in a matter of a few months, we changed. We were before just talking about how the IT is getting more and more dollars, and now we're talking about how to get the job, and maybe even with less dollars, but make sure that you have the experience. It's incredible how quickly the market changed. So based on all of this in 2023, do you guys think we will be living an employee or an employer-driven market? Although I kind of have the feeling that we are kind of answering this already. So what do you think, Mike?
Well, first off, I've learned not to try to predict the future, because I haven't been very good at it if you look at my stock portfolio. but based off what I'm thinking, from what I'm seeing right now, it seems like it's going to be an employee market, not an an employer-driven market, not an employee. What I would suggest people do is follow, because this is kind of what's changed a lot of things. So follow the U.S. Fed increasing rates. That's what really kind of will set the tone for how much, because I think that's the real question, is really how much of an employer-driven market versus employee. And a big, big, big factor in that is how the U.S. Fed decides to increase rates over time. So just pay attention to those types of things. But definitely, if I had to bet my money on it, which again, you look at my stock portfolio, not great, I'd say employer-driven market.
All right. We have been following the Fed moves in Central Eastern Europe. All our currencies are moving up and down because of you guys. So yeah, we understand that clearly. How about you, Vlad? What would you feel 2023, employee or employer-driven market? Did we lose Vlad? Are you here, Vladislav?
I think I might be on mute.
I don't see him. Maybe we lost him for a while. Let's just wait for him to come back. Meanwhile, we can continue. So according to Glassdoor and also Indeed's hiring and workplace trends report, 2023 will continue to see a tight labor market with employers vying for top talent. Yeah, we have seen that. So do you guys agree? And what does this mean for the tech specialists that are also here with us listening? How easy will it be for them to find a job, and how will it affect their salaries? Mike, maybe you can explain on that.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I think that this is going to be the case. It's more of a matter of how tight will it actually get. And that I really don't know. So I do agree, again, matter of how tight will it actually get. In regards to like tech specialists, I really think from what I'm seeing with our clients, if you're good, you're good. Like if you're really, really good in, at what you do, I wouldn't be super worried. If you're on the edge there, again, I'd be considering, and I'm going to make up some numbers, but if you're, making say $5,000 a month, it might be hard to go get another job at that same rate. So set your expectations correctly, because the previous market inflated salaries like crazy. So don't be scared to potentially in the interim, take a pay cut if you need to. So that's kind of what I'd be thinking about. And I'd really, again, if I was, an engineer or anyone in tech, I'd really be tripling down on what are the skill sets going to be valuable and where can I grow a bit over the next couple of years so I continue to gain value in regards to salary and whatnot.
Great. Lasia?
Yeah, I think overall, market average, yeah, for sure, we're in a tough situation, but it's very different inside the market, like within different industries. So bigger companies in the size of 10,000 people and above are having much more difficult time. And startups actually are in better positions, especially startups that have raised money, before the economic downturn started. Like that's actually the best area of market. And so if you fall into that category, suitable talent into that type of market, you're in great position, right? Like especially if you have great skill set, great experience, and all that sort of things. So I think it's absolutely much easier for the top talent to get a great job. Always been, still is, and it's really important to get into that category. So the bar has increased now more than before, but it's still, so the top talent would absolutely have better opportunities and still have enough opportunities. I haven't met any great talented person right now that is struggling to find a job.
Okay, that's consoling. That's great. If you're good, you will find a job. And Vlad, you're back. I see. So we were talking about having the market both like from the employee and employer side. Who is shuffling the cards? Do you think it's an employer or an employee market?
Hello. So I'm back. I'm still having some technical issues, but hopefully they will be fixed soon. So, personally, I do not believe that hiring itself will get easier in 2023 for companies, either for candidates. I mean, yes, the market has changed the vector, and it is not an employee market, an employee-driven market anymore, for sure, as it was for instance in 2021 and 2022. I'm also expecting, that compensations will stop like growing, rising, or even maybe some markets will be adjusted like downward. But at the same time, due to recession and well-known layoffs and cost efficiency, I believe that employers will no longer compromise in terms of requirements to the candidates, right? And also they will not rush with decisions because, for employers, like market is kind of like alive, right? So formally, that will be employer-driven market. But at the same time, I do not feel that will bring a lot of benefits for companies, right? Due to the market dynamics, so, like this.
Okay, great. I mean, it's kind of it seems that you guys are sharing the same thought. And Vlad, the previous year was a pretty hard one for the labor market itself. We've discussed that Google has just laid off thousands of people because of economic reasons, and others are doing the same. So loads of companies are cutting their employees. Of course, it is hard to be prepared for any situation, unexpected situation like this. Nobody expected this a year ago. But can you adjust your strategy? Do you have a strategy at Innovecs, for example? Is it for keeping people, making it still work, or shuffling things around? So what's the strategy? And also one more question. When everything is over, how do you plan to bounce back? Do you have this already figured out?
Mm-hmm. Companies hire, eventually companies are hired because of the positive market dynamics, right? And also because of we called it cheap money, right? Which is investments, right? And for instance, as you mentioned, companies like Google, right? They buy a lot of startups. They invest in new products and features, right? And this is also investments. What is happening with hiring market, right? It's it's growing. But then what happened when the recession has come? You stop all the nice to have features, all the features which bring no business, right? Like Twitter does, for example. And for services company, such processes we observe right now today, they may bring a lot of troubles. So what we do, basically, we analyze risks together with clients, project by project or client by client, to understand and predict the situation. Then we also one of our goal, of course, is to keep the people which are already in the company, working for us, right? So we try to act proactively, and in case we see that there is some risk on one or another project, so we are proactively moving people, right, from project to project, and trying to allocate them. We also pay a lot of attention to the training and development, to the expanding of the people's skills and expertise, because eventually that allows us to have a wide choice and options. What I would also recommend that it's necessary to look for new markets, new customers, develop new expertise to be ready to bounce back after the crisis.
Mm-hmm. So we can actually prepare for that. Great. And Lasia, you already started mentioning at the beginning a few of the skills that could be important, but do you see any other important trends in 2023? What skills are those A players require that are actually working with you? So what are they searching for specifically when it comes to skills?
Yeah, so we actually, even before this was that important, we developed a system to identify the top 5% of people that we call A players. So we made the research, and the conclusion was that all these people share the same qualities. So they are smart and curious. They have very high level of integrity. They really care about what they do, who they do it with. They have very high standards of quality for everything. They have very strong sense of ownership. They treat every project they are working on as their own, as if it's their own company. So they have that entrepreneurial mindset applied to even a small task they do. They are high achievers. So all these qualities are shared between A players, and I believe that 2023 is in demand for those qualities, especially now. So yeah, so investing, my recommendation is also especially now, investing in improving those skills now would be really crucial.
I understand. And there's one question in the chat that I found that is related to this topic, and I would like to just push this in here. It goes, you said soft skills are much more important than before, but when you apply for the job, the first thing recruiters notice is your hard skills and experience. How to show cultural match before the interview?
Okay, great. Yeah. So this is actually a very, very good follow-up question. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying at all that hard skills are not important. This is the first thing that a recruiter or hiring manager is looking at. So this is by default, it's core, it's super important. But then, because there are a lot of people having similar hard skills, but a company needs to hire only one person, then it comes into soft skills. And then the people who have better soft skills have much higher chances to get this job or to get this job on better condition. So hard skills, very important, still important. Like the importance of hard skills did not decrease, but the importance of soft skills increased, because before, like when companies were hiring like crazy, right? Like they needed to get people very fast. They didn't care too much about the level of talent, because they cared more about speed and growing and scaling. They could close their eyes on soft skills and not really care if it's not a culture match, if the person doesn't have the right soft skills. But now it's very different. By the way, soft skills, culture fit, different categories, right? So both are very important. But I would say that the importance of soft skills is now like basically getting to the same level as important of hard skills pre-economic downturn period.
Very interesting. So basically we could say hard skills are the first filter and soft skills make the difference at the end when you are actually selecting from more options. Pretty interesting. Okay, and when it comes to trends and vacancies, what do you guys see now the most difficult to fill, maybe out of all the positions that you have been working on recently, and which ones prove to be now easier than you thought? So I'm kind of trying to ask about what was it that was more difficult before, and now it seems it's easier to find those hard or soft skills or specialties. So what have you noticed the last couple of months? Mike, maybe you can start.
Yeah, sure. So I don't know if this is biased at all, but we've been working a lot of site reliability engineer roles lately, and those are always really hard to find. It's hard to find good people in those types of roles, and like platform engineering, machine learning, data. They've always been difficult, I think. I don't think it's really changed much. On the vice versa, where things have gotten easier, and I think will continue to get easier, is just the supply and demand for front end, back end. They're kind of like your standard front end, back end type engineers. So I think it's like a pretty straight answer from what I've seen on my end. Those difficult to fill roles are still not easy. There's more supply, right? But it's still they're always tough. But I think there's a lot more just general front end, back end type engineers that are coming into the market. So those ones have become a bit easier.
I see. Lesya, from your side?
Yeah, so I would say that this is a very complex question, and I would take into consideration multiple factors. So because we work with different clients, right? Like I would look into a specific type of client or even specific company, right? So we've worked with amazing companies with big names like Wix and Grammarly and Mind Valley and Veriv, right? So a lot of amazing companies who have great names, like are able to attract top talent much easier because of that brand, right? Like, so startups always have been struggling because they don't have branding, but now startups have a better advantage for funding, right? So like there are different factors in place. Another thing I would say that even though it's an employer market and not an employee anymore, employees still also changed their strategies for looking for a job. So people became much more cautious about where they go and about whether they change job. So it is harder to headhunt people from great companies, from companies with great culture, from companies that haven't laid off people or did it very, very nicely. It is much easier to headhunt people from companies that didn't do well in terms of layoffs. Yeah, so people are looking into all these factors all together. So like I would say that in general, it very much differs from client to client, from like a vacancy to vacancy. So the company itself, it's much more, it's much stronger factor than a role for us. And I believe the market in general. But in terms of like just like very, very average market average, I would say that the hardest roles are very specialized engineers. And the easiest would be more like business operations roles, marketing, recruiting. So a lot of people like who get laid off again, like it's just like you have so much so many applicants, you get to so many people in top of the funnel. It's just the question of like how efficient you can bring them through the filter.
Interesting. Vlad, we have been working on quite a few roles together. What's your take on this? What do you find more simple, or do you find any of these searches more simple, and what's still tough for you?
Well, I think that it will be tough to hire positions, to fill the positions with cross-functional skills. I mean that it is not enough anymore to be a super great.
Vlad, I think we're losing you.
Can you hear
probably
me?
we can get back to this answer later. I think we lost Vlad for a while. We'll get back to this. Here you go. Now you're back.
Oh, I'm back. Okay. So, yeah, I believe that most difficult vacancies to fill are positions with cross-functional skills. I mean that it is not enough anymore to be a super great, let's say, Java developer, right? There are a lot of expectations besides that, like, either cloud, like Kubernetes or whatever it will be, or, for example, some experience in QA for the same position, for the same role, or vice versa when it's comes to, like, let's say, DevOps engineer, right? It's not enough to be just a great like DevOps engineer anymore. You should go inside, like deep dive and fix something if needed, and that kind of positions. Or, for instance, like technical experts, right? The positions which are like ordering to cover a lot of R&Ds, not just the straightforward clear development, but for the products or startups where it is still a lot of R&Ds and someone needs to do that. The developers are not they do not really like to do, some of them, let's say some of them, they do not really like to do a lot of R&D. They like to have like clear Jira, right, and straightforward approach. So that kind of positions, I believe.
Really interesting. Thank you. All right, let's talk a bit about your expectations when it comes to 2023. According to you, what are employment and workplace trends, if you wish, that are shaping the digital world in the next 12 months? So what can we expect, and how do you see these trends for the next 12 months? Maybe Lesia, you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, one of the exciting trends. We see AI boom, and I think that will shape a lot. That will shape for which roles we're hiring for. That will shape how we are hiring for. That will like really impact. That will definitely shape which companies get funded the most. And we see that already, that the companies with AI technologies are getting much more interest from investors, and so far getting more funding and hiring more people. We will see much more cautious attitude to money. Company will be saving more. Company will be much more cautious how they spend, for hiring for specific roles and for their overall hiring costs. Companies, I believe, will pay much more attention to retention, because replacing people is expensive. So one wrong hire, the statistic shows that one wrong hire costs about 15 monthly salaries. So in the tough economic times, it's a lot of money. So I think companies will be much more cautious who they hire and when. I think company will be prioritizing flexibility in everything, and so this is another thing important for talent to pay attention to. So staying flexible with whatever you can will be also very much valued. So flexible with the things you can do, the specific tasks you can work with, the skills, how fast you can adapt, how fast you can learn skills. Really like flexibility is definitely a new trend too. And I think we'll see more of project-based hires for specific tech-related roles and for services roles, right? So I believe companies will be hiring much fewer internal recruiters and will either hire external recruiting partners on success-based fee or on outstaff model, not really committing to full-time hires, internal hires.
Yeah, very interesting. Mike, what do you think about 2023? What do you expect in terms of these trends?
Yeah, so I expect us to all lose our jobs to ChatGPT in 2023. So in 2023, I think the hiring process is going to be longer. Companies are being more efficient. They're being much more picky. They have a higher bar. Okay, but I think what you have to also consider is there's going to be, I think, some interesting things happening. I don't know if how many people are talking about, but there's going to be a lot of companies that go under in 2023. Q4 is going to be ugly. Going into next year of Q1 is going to be really ugly. There's companies, Series B and C funding is gone. It's very hard to raise those Series B and C rounds these days. It's much easier to actually raise seed funding these days. So I think what's going to be interesting, these companies are going to try to keep surviving by prolonging the inevitable by raising something called convertible debt. I don't know how many people will be successful in doing this, but when you raise at very high valuations and now you have to raise at a lower valuation, that causes a lot of problems. So, going into employment, you got to think about these things when it comes to things like stock options and how is that going to affect the market when all these companies are probably going to go under? How's that going to? I don't know the answer to that. What I do know, though, and this might be a little bit of curveball here, I think you're going to see a lot of people starting businesses, and this happened during COVID. I think this is going to happen again. Q4, Q1 of next year, you're going to see a lot of people getting into starting businesses. So if you're thinking about getting jobs, this is the time to consider upskilling, really double down on those soft skills and just overdo everything that you can. And then really consider these things like, when you're considering comp packages, it's me personally, I rather have cash than equity because the equity might not be worth anything, especially these days. So consider those things. But at the end of the day, companies are going to get tighter with who they hire. So be cognizant of, longer periods of time during interview processes and You got to do a little bit more to impress.
Cool, Mike. It seems that you're saying that if you have an entrepreneurial mindset and a proactive attitude, and you can teach yourself stuff, then you can be great within a year. So
yeah, and you can raise a seed round, because that's the easiest thing to raise right now.
yeah. And do you have any idea or any thoughts about what's going down and what might be good to go into in terms of businesses? Because there you might see some trends and what's shaping in
yeah, well, I think you're going to see a lot of money flow into AI. There's going to be a lot of startups that fail in the AI space because they're going to build things on top of GPT. And the competitor products that are going to come out, like Google invested a lot of money into acquiring a competitor. So you're going to see a lot of these AI companies. Everything's going to be AI, and it's just going to be built off of GPT. But there's going to be a lot of other AI products outside of that. I think GPT showed the world that AI is very, very, very possible. Before, a lot of these AI companies weren't really doing AI. There are obviously some that are amazing that were doing it, but you're going to see a lot of people. It's kind of like the first person that ran the 4-minute mile. Once the first person ran the 4-minute mile, then a bunch of other people ran the 4-minute mile because everyone thought it was impossible, but then someone showed everyone it is possible. GPT showed the world that this is possible. So you're going to see a lot of people get into AI. They're going to look up to a lot of these companies doing this and like, I need to get into this. So AI, I think that's where it's at.
It seems cybersecurity and AI in both panels, we're seeing this over and over. So that's a clear sign. Great. Just as a summary, I've also been nodding down a few thoughts, and yeah, from the second panel, it's really clear and obvious that we're going to be living in an employer-driven market for a while, at least, where hard skills are just as important as soft skills, and companies will be paying attention on efficiency, integrity, standards, flexibility, as you guys mentioned. So it's time for everyone probably just to go out and gain some expertise, pump up your skills, and then go at a very successful end of the next year. So guys, thank you all for being here and sharing your insights with our audience. And in the name of Innovecs, I am also thanking everyone for staying tuned and participating today. I think it was an eye-opener in many aspects. Please also stay alert for our future sessions as well, as there will surely be more. And yeah, do subscribe to our social media channels if you wish, and check our vacancies at jobs.innovecs.com, as we still are hiring those specific talents. And I'm wishing everyone, I would say, a 2023 that brings professional success and predictability. I think that's something that we all need. Thank you guys again for being here. See you next time around, and have a nice evening. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone.